we're turning our attention to hurling, and it is going to be some weekend in the Munster Hurling Championship. I'm delighted to say Limerick legend Joe Quaid is with us. Joe, good morning to you. How are you?
All good, Joe.
How do you feel about how Limerick are going at the moment in the Championship as opposed to on the year to date? What's your assessment of where they are?
Look, I suppose every day that Limerick go out, there's a target on their back, the same as any champions. Every team is going to bring their A game. Every team is, I suppose, trying to devise a strategy now to beat them. A lot have tried. Some have got really, really close, but nobody has kind of figured it out yet. I suppose from a Limerick perspective, I would be happy in one sense that we got the win last weekend, but with the performance, I don't think they were as sharp. I think they were a bit sloppy at times, and we were very, very lucky to get over the line. But I think John Quaid alluded to that people were writing off Waterford. Waterford have been probably as consistent as Limerick without getting over the line over the last few years. They've been in All-Ireland semi-finals, finals. So they're not a bad team. So I wouldn't be hitting the panic buttons in Limerick yet.
I'm sure. I don't think anybody will. It's more that sloppiness, and Kylie afterwards, when he was talking about it, seemed genuinely angry. And maybe, look, some of that's performative and some of that is a message to his players. And it felt like he thought that maybe some of that complacency was seeping in. And you can be sure that that leadership group are so experienced, they're also so talented, that they're not going to allow that to happen for a second week. So what do you want to see in terms of performance and sharpness and the absence of the sloppiness? How do you make that, how do you see that happen this week?
Look, that just happens because of lack of concentration. As you say, complacency kicks in. It kicked in at times. We weren't as sharp. We weren't delivering the ball as clean. We weren't breaking tackles the way we used to. No, a lot of it was down to Waterford and the challenge that they brought. But I suppose that challenge can only last for so long. Clare brought it last year. The one thing about this Limerick team is when they seem to be hitting a dip, whether it be after a game, they can recover massively for the next game, or whether it's during a game. They seem to be able to readjust. Like you take last weekend, they missed the penalty. I think within a minute or two, they were down to 14 men, but yet they reeled off the next 3 points. They've just done an unbelievable knack of managing their the on-field side of it themselves. But look, at any stage, any team can be beaten. It's why we love sport in general. You take the Meath ladies footballers, go back a few years ago, they were never even heard of. Then they go and do what they did. So there's no team out there invincible. We all thought Dublin would win 10 All-Irelands in a row. They were brought down. So look, I think John Quaid, it was probably a perfect storm for him last weekend in that there's 2 points on the board, but he has a massive stick to go back and beat the players with this week and work on, and I suppose the mental side of it. No one will ever question their work rate. No one will ever question, their fitness. But it's just the mental aspect of the game and how they prepare themselves, I suppose, for a titanic battle. Because while it's not absolutely necessary Clare win, I know teams have got through with 4 points before. But you lose your first 2 matches, you seem to be definitely behind the 8 ball. So I'm expecting Clare to bring an absolutely massive challenge the weekend.
Is there an ulterior motive, Joe, to those John Kiley comments? And I say that in respect to Limerick's success. And sometimes when a team almost becomes so successful, you have to find new ways of going back to the well and finding motivation each year at the start of the campaign. And there's a bit of a siege mentality because his comments here, listen, let's be honest about it, there was some amount of bullshit spoken about our team and the season ahead this week and the week before. Is that a siege mentality thing to get the motivation into the players' heads, do you reckon?
I don't think so. Look, we've all listened to John Kiley's interviews over the years, and there's no kind of I'm saying nothing about that, or Brian Cody type we'd like to congratulate the opposition. And that the one thing about John is he speaks from the heart. So I would trust John enough to think that's how he felt. Will that pass through to the players? Absolutely. Is he sending a message out to the players? Yes, by the interview, but I think they won't be left in any doubt when they met after the first night after training or in the dressing room after the match to their standards. Look, they set their own standards themselves, and their standards are ridiculously high. So I don't even think John will need to we'll need to say a whole pile to them. I often see them around Limerick. They'd be out having a coffee or that in pods and that. And to be honest, I'd say that would be a lot of the discussion between themselves even. Right, what went wrong? I think a lot of them would even do a bit of self-reflection and go, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do well? What do I need to improve on, and how do I need to do it? And look, they have, I suppose, in the background, they've probably Caroline Curran, that anybody that was feeling a bit left down by themselves in their performance, I'm sure she's at the end of the phone to offer a bit of guidance on, okay, that's gone, park it. How do we get better for next week?
Joe, talking to various people in the aftermath of the game as well, Waterford and Davy present a particular challenge that not many other counties are going to be able to replicate. So Clare won't be able to play exactly the same way that Waterford did, and nor should they. But it's not actually the worst thing for Limerick to have had the jeopardy that they had last weekend, to go down to 14 men, to have somebody offer them a different challenge when it comes to puckouts. Basically man marking Barry Nash, so the short puck out was gone down that particular side, and when the long ones were there, that there was a massive competition for it. So basically Limerick didn't have it all their own way and had to think their way through it. A little bit fortunate, a little bit unfortunate. I'm either with the sending off, if you think that way, or the fact that Garrod Hegarty's first yellow was for Moughton, and the fact that they missed a penalty, which isn't going to happen again. So all in all, it's not the worst situation for them to be in, where they've had to think their way through, come through that, and there'll be a little bit of confidence heading into next week.
Absolutely. As I said, just probably the perfect storm facing into the Clare match. I think, bar a couple of players, I don't think anyone can turn around and say, yeah, that was my best performance. Look, sport, it turns. No one knows better than me. A 5-minute spell in a game can change a lifetime, not to mind a game. But like, if that penalty had gone in, then the melee probably wouldn't have started. The sending off wouldn't have happened. We would have probably pushed on. It's all ifs and buts.
Yeah.
You deal with what's there on the day, and I suppose that's probably their biggest strength, is their ability to adapt. I suppose everyone said when the water breaks were there that they went out like machines. They played for 17 minutes. They came back in. Paul Canuck reprogrammed them and they went back out again. This is proof that they do it themselves. That they're self-regulating. They're able to adapt to different situations. Like, yeah, they kept Barry Nash quiet from the puckouts, but yet after going down to 14 men, there's our cornerback above putting the ball over the bar.
Great score as well, yeah. Come here, what about Declan Hannon's injury? Like, of all of the players, he's got a specific role, and I'm sure somebody else will be able to do a version of it, but he's not one of the players that you're like, oh, there's competition for places there. It's like, he's got a role. He's like, genuinely the best at it in the country. And is there an obvious way to fix that?
Unless we clone him. I think he is just the best at what he does. I suppose if you could ask somebody, what does Declan Hannon do, it's very hard to put your finger on it, but he is so integral. Like, you could watch a match there, George, for 40, 50 minutes, and all of a sudden the opposition are coming back into the game. You might not have seen Declan Hannon in the game early, and all of a sudden then he intercepts a pass, or there's a ball to be won, he pops up the field, throws it over the bar. It's worth 3 points. So can he be replaced? No, but we're very, very lucky in that. I suppose that back line is so flexible. Like, Declan Hannon, our captain, our leader, came off. Dan Morrissey moved out, and we bring on an all-star fullback. It's riches that we have. will the team be better with Declan in it? Absolutely. Come here. I was in the Gaelic grounds last year after 15 minutes and Keane Lynch went off. And we thought, oh my God, this is disaster. Holiday are gone. Missing Peter Casey already. They do what they did best, George. They adapted. And I think everybody has a huge understanding of every role that everybody plays. And if somebody needs a dig out, I think they won't be found wanting, if Dan is under pressure there, which I don't think he will be. Will he play the same game as Hannon? No. I don't know anybody in the country that can play the same game as Hannon. He's just gifted.
Joe, I was curious to get your thoughts as well on the incident involving Grode Hegarty and the member of the Waterford backroom team, who it seems is going to get a lengthy suspension for that incident. I know at the GA Congress in February they brought in this 8-week ban for any physical interference by a team official towards a player. This might be a more lengthy ban. We'll wait and see. But what were your thoughts on that particular incident?
Look, I suppose tensions were high. I'm sure that man after the match, well, he didn't seem after the incident to be upset by it, but I'm sure he will after the match. My attitude is you're out on the sideline. We've all seen Davy and Liam Sheedy and everybody and John Kiley probably, pumping up to opposition players and management and things. But this man came from within the dugout. Now, I see a lot of, and I'll use John Kiley's thing, bullshit on social media. Oh, Hegarty wasn't shot. It's irrelevant. He came over, he interfered with a player. Irrelevant of the force of it.
Yeah,
it's the action that to me is completely wrong. He deserves a lengthy ban out of it. Probably didn't help himself by the way he was smirking coming off the field. When he was put off, probably lost a lot of support for himself, because we all know when passions are raised and that. I suppose you'd have got serious odds in the bookie that if there was someone to be sent from the field for an altercation with a Limerick player, that it wouldn't have been Davy. I thought he was unbelievably composed.
He was, wasn't he?
Last weekend,
I think it surprised a lot of people as well with just how flexible the tactics were and how he got most of those big decisions right. And if his team had just had a little bit more composure coming down the stretch, then maybe we'd be talking about this in a totally different way. We'll see what happens this weekend. Joe, great to have you with us. Thanks a million.
No bother, lads. Thanks a million.
It's Joe Quaid there, Limerick legend, giving us his thoughts on how the situation is unfolding at the moment in the Munster Hurling Championship. More hurling, of course, across the evening and on the show.